Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back. This is Mrs. Maldonado. I have another guided reading lesson for you, a sight word game, and a math lesson prepared. So let's go ahead and get started with our lesson for today. In guided reading, we have a book titled Grace in Space. Okay, and it is written by Jamie Lucero and it's illustrated by Doug Jones. Hi there, my name is Grace. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! In case you didn't guess, I'm an astronaut. Come and join me on my trip into space. Okay, boys and girls, as I had mentioned before, I have, or there are vocabulary words in each slide as we are moving along through the book. Okay, and each vocabulary word is in bold print. Remember when we were studying about text features, when we were learning about text features, one of those text features was bold print. So bold print means that the letters are darker so they can stand out. Okay, so our vocabulary word for this slide is astronaut. So you might be asking, in case you didn't know, what is an astronaut? Well, an astronaut is a person who travels to space. Okay, and it happens to be, boys and girls, that grace and space, they rhyme because they both say ace. Grace, space, they both say ace. All right, let's go to our next page. Take a look. You can see our whole solar system from here. It has 8 planets and one giant star called the sun. The planets orbit the sun. Let's zoom in and take a closer look at some of them. Okay, so we are going to look at our vocabulary word on page number 4. Start off with that word. Okay, and that vocabulary word is solar system. So what is solar system? Well, that is our neighborhood in space, including the sun and the 8 planets that travel around it. Okay, and then we have our vocabulary word in page 5 that's also in bold print, orbit. So what is orbit? Well, orbit means to travel around the sun or a planet on an invisible path. Okay, so remember, do you recall when I was reading how many planets are in our solar system? Do you remember? Okay, so I'm going to read it in page 4. It says it has 8 planets and one giant star called the sun. Did you know, boys and girls, that the sun is a giant star? Yes, so let's name our planets. We have Neptune, Uranus, Jupiter, Earth, Mercury, Mars, Venus, and Saturn. And then in the center we have our giant star, which is our sun. Okay, so we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's 8. So if anybody asks you how many planets are in our solar system, you can say 8. Okay, and then you remember to tell them that we have a giant star called the sun. Okay, our next page. This is Saturn. Look at all those rings. It is freezing cold here. Brrr. I'm glad I brought my mittens. Okay, so this is one of the planets. Its name is Saturn. Okay, so let's look at another planet on the opposite page, page number 7. Next stop, Jupiter. It is the largest planet in the solar system. Did you know it is 300 times bigger than Earth? Wow, boys and girls, that is humongous. That planet Jupiter is 300 times bigger than our planet Earth. And Earth is pretty big, boys and girls, so it's 300 times bigger. That's amazing. Okay, next page. Welcome to Venus. It has lots of volcanoes. The air is filled with a gas that smells like rotten eggs. Yuck! What a terrible odor. Okay, so maybe we might not want to live in Venus. It has a terrible smell. What did it smell like? What does it smell like there, boys and girls? Do you remember? What does the text say? What does the story say? Yeah, it smells like rotten eggs in Venus. We probably don't want to visit that planet. All right, so let's look at page number 9. The big ball of burning gas is the sun, but we can't get too close. It is super hot. It is also the source of Earth's energy. So there's our sun, boys and girls. There's our giant star, and it is way, way too hot for us to get too close to it. So when we see that the sun is out, remember we get really hot. Can you imagine if we were closer to the sun, how much hotter it would be? Very hot, right? All right, so let's go back to page number 8 because I see a word in bold print. I am going to circle it. We talked about one of the characteristics in planet Venus. What was it? Okay, so our vocabulary word is odor. And odor, boys and girls, means a smell. So what kind of smell or what kind of odor does Venus have? That's right. It smells like rotten eggs. And it had something else, boys and girls, that has lots of what? Volcanoes. Yes, it does. All right, let's go to our next 2 pages. Watch out for that asteroid. Wow, it is as lumpy as a potato and as big as a house. Wowzers, that is pretty big, something pretty big to just be going around up there in outer space, right? So let's look at that, take a look at that word, asteroid. Okay, and we see that there is a label there pointing to the asteroid so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so let's read and see what is an asteroid. Well, an asteroid, it says it's a lumpy rock that travels around the sun. Okay, so it is a lumpy rock that travels around the sun. But boys and girls, it says that it's as big as a house. Wow, that's a pretty big, enormous rock. All right, so let's look at page number 11. What have we here? This great dusty place is the moon. It is covered with mountains and craters. The moon orbits Earth. Okay, so we have 2 labels here. Remember, labels is another text feature that we've talked about and learned about. Okay, so labels are words that point to something to tell us what it is. Okay, just like we pointed out the word asteroid and it was pointing to an asteroid. Now we have the word moon and it's pointing to the moon. Then we have one for Earth and it's also pointing to the Earth. Okay, so let's look at our word here in bold print, and that word is craters. And craters is large holes in the ground. So we see that Grace is in a crater in the moon, boys and girls. It looks like she's having fun there. She's got a big smile on her face. So we can see how she's feeling, right? We can tell by her face, her facial expressions, we can see how she is feeling. Okay, now let's look at her facial expressions on the other page with the asteroid. Wow, what do you think she is feeling? Yeah, right? I think she's pretty worried. She's like, oh, I hope it does not hit me. Because remember, it's a pretty big rock. So she looked like she was worried. Okay, but she looks pretty content and happy. and the opposite page they're in a crater. Okay, let's move along. All right. Speaking of Earth, I'm getting an urgent message from Mission Control. Sounds like they need me to get home right away. Fasten your seatbelt. So she's got a kind of like a speech bubble there saying, Grace, come back to Earth. And that's probably the Mission Control telling her, giving her orders to return back to Earth. Okay, so let's look at the opposite page and read what it says there. Okay, it says, poof, that was quick. Here we are back on Earth. What a journey. What a daydream. So we have two vocabulary words, boys and girls, for these two pages. And the first one we have in bold print is on page number 12, and that is the word urgent. So when we hear that word urgent, it said in the text, it says, I'm getting an urgent message from Mission Control. Okay, and then it says, sounds like they need me to get home right away. So what do you think urgent might mean? Yes, it means that it's very important and in need of attention right away. So if something is urgent, we need to take care of it and, do something right away. Do something about it because it is kind of like an emergency, something to take care of immediately. Okay, we also have another word in bold print. Okay, and that word, boys and girls, is a compound word. Do you remember what a compound word is? A compound word means that is two words that are put together to make one word, boys and girls. So if we cut that word in half, I'm going to cut it in half right here in the bold print. We have the word day and we have the word dream. And we put it together and now we have the word daydream. So the word daydream, boys and girls, is a happy dream that you have when you are awake. So when we are daydreaming, we're just kind of wandering off and thinking about something else. Okay, but we are awake. We are not sleeping. Okay, and also, boys and girls, I wanted to point out there's another label. Okay, remember labels also is another text feature, and it's pointing to the earth. Okay, so that's what our earth looks like. And speaking of the earth, boys and girls, do you remember when we see green on our earth, what does that mean? And when we see blue on the earth, what does that mean? That's right. The green resembles the land, okay? And the blue resembles the water, okay? So we see that there's more water than there is land, right? Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, so we're all done with our story. So now we get to work on our vocabulary meaning match activity. Okay, so before we get started with that, I want to review our words, our vocabulary words that we learn throughout our text. Okay, so here they are in our treasure chest. Okay, so which is referred to as word chest. We have solar system. Do you remember how many planets are in the solar system? That's right, there's 8, and then there's our giant star. And what is a star? Yes, it's our sun. Then we have asteroid. Do you remember what an asteroid was? Remember, it's something that orbits the sun. And remember, it was a huge rock. And it said that it was as big as what, boys and girls? A house. That's enormous. Okay, and then we have crater. Remember that Grace was having fun. She was inside that crater. It looked kind of like a dip in the moon. Urgent. We said something that we need to do right away. And we know what's an astronaut. A person that goes into outer space, right? And daydream, we talked about it. Something that when we're dreaming about something, but we are awake. Odor, remember we talked about planet Venus, that it smelled like rotten eggs. So odor is a smell. It's a bad smell. And orbit, boys and girls, is something that circles around, okay? So let's look at number 1. We'll get started with number 1 first. I will put a check and you can read along with me. It says a large hole in the ground. What is a large hole in the ground? Remember what was Grace sitting in? Yes, a crater. So we will put a number 1 there. Okay, and boys and girls, if you want to join me for this activity, go ahead and get a piece of paper and something to write with. And all you have to do is number from 1 through 8. You do not have to write the definitions, but you can write the words, okay? So you can learn how to spell some of these vocabulary words. You might use them again. All right, so let's go to number 2. Number 2 is a smell. Remember we talked about planet Venus, that it had a rotten egg smell. What was that vocabulary word that we learned? Yes, odor. Odor is a bad smell. Okay, number 3. To travel around the sun or a planet. To travel around the sun or a planet. That's right, that is orbit. Orbit. So for number 3, I want you to write the word orbit. Okay, so if they have a number, that means that we've already used them. We are not going to use them again because we already found their definition. Okay? All right, let's go to number 4. Very important and in need of attention right away. Remember, Grace got a notice from Mission Control and they said that it was what? Solar system? Asteroid? Urgent? Astronaut? Or daydream? Yes, it was urgent. Something that is very important and in need of attention right away is urgent. So we're going to put a number 4 right there. Okay. And that is urgent. All right, so let's move right along to number 5. Our neighborhood in space. Our neighborhood in space. Remember we talked about the 8 planets and our sun? That is what? That's right, our solar system. Okay, and we are part of that because planet Earth is one of those planets. Okay, so let's move right along. And for that one, boys and girls, it's 2 words, solar and then system. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to write those 2 words because you're writing a little bit more since it's 2 words. Okay, so let's move right along. Let's help me read number 6. A lumpy rock that travels around the sun. A lumpy rock that travels around the sun. Remember, boys and girls, that we talked about that. It's as big as a house. That's a pretty big rock. All right, a lumpy rock that travels around the sun is an asteroid. Number 6, asteroid. All right, boys and girls, we only have 2 vocabulary words left. We have daydream and astronaut. All right, so for number 7, a person who travels in space. Which one is that? A person who travels in space. Very good. That is an astronaut. So I'm going to put a number 7 here for astronaut. So that means that number 8 is probably the last vocabulary word. Okay, and that means a happy dream that you have when you are awake. That's right, daydream. We talked about that word. Okay, we said that it was a compound word because it's 2 words, boys and girls, that make up 1 word, day and dream. So it kind of makes sense because you're awake, so it's during the day, and you were dreaming, so daydream. All right, boys and girls, so those are our vocabulary words for this week. So let's move right along because now we're going to use them in a sentence. Okay, we learned them in our story. We matched them with the definition. Now we're going to use them within a sentence, okay, to see where they fit best to make sense. Okay, we have our word box with all of our vocabulary words, and I am going to review those vocabulary words with you. Okay, the first one is astronaut. Next one is asteroid. Then we have solar system, daydream, orbit, craters, odor, and last one is urgent. All right, so I am going to read number 1. And the same thing, boys and girls, if you want to number your paper again from 1 through 8, and you can help me and do this activity with me, okay? Or if you want to just move right along, and then you can go back and revise your knowledge, you can do that as well if you get the answers before I do. Okay? And remember, you can always pause and then you can let it play to see if you got the correct answers. You can do that as well. Just a suggestion. All right, boys and girls. So number 2. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We haven't done number 1. Let's go back. Number 1. All right. And you can read along with me. Eric had a great blank about being a famous baseball player. He had a great what? About being a famous baseball player. That's right, daydream. Daydream. Remember to dream about something during the day when you are awake. So I am going to write daydream for number 1. Okay, make sure you also have that for number 1. All right, we are going to move right along to number 2. The blank zoomed through space in her shiny spaceship. The blank zoomed through space in her shiny spaceship. Okay, so what could that be, boys and girls? Astronaut, asteroid, solar system, orbit, craters, odor, or urgent. Very good. Astronaut. So that's a pretty long word, boys and girls. I'm going to try to write it small, see if it fits. Okay. So I'll read it again in the sentence. The astronaut zoomed through space in her shiny spaceship. All right. So number 3. Number 3 reads, our blank has 8 planets, the sun, and lots of asteroids. We learned about that, boys and girls. We did. All right, you got it. It's solar system. And remember, it's 2 words. So when you fill in, you write the answer for number 3. Remember to use 2 words. Solar, and then you leave a finger space, and then you write system. Solar, and then system. Okay, so that is the answer for number 3. All right, now let's read now number 4. The Earth and other planets all blank around the sun. The Earth and other planets all blank around the sun. What is that to move around? Very good. Orbit. 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 That's a short word. All right. Number 5. It says, yuck! Those old sneakers have a terrible what? Those old sneakers have a terrible what, boys and girls? Yes, they have a terrible odor. Remember when we learned about planet Venus, that it smelled like rotten eggs? It had a terrible odor, boys and girls. All right, and odor is also a short word. Okay, only 4 letters. Okay, let's move on to number 6. When asteroids hit the moon, they made giant what? They hit the moon and they made giant what? So say for example, you had some Play-Doh and you kind of punch it with your hand. What does it make? That's kind of like just a visual to make that connection. When asteroids hit the moon, they made giant what? What was Grace sitting in that she was so happy, boys and girls? Remember that vocabulary word that we learned? Yes, craters. Craters. Okay, craters. So that is our answer for number 6. All right, let's move right along to number 7. Your mom wants you to come home right now. She says it is what? When we have to do something right away, we're not waiting till later. Right away, it is what? Is it asteroid or urgent? Which one of those words do you think would make sense? Yes, urgent. That means it's right away. We are not wasting any time. We are doing what we are told to do at the moment. Urgent. That's an R. I don't know why it went all the way to the top. All right. Number 8. In blank is a lumpy rock traveling through space. What was that, boys and girls, that travels through space? Rocks. A lumpy rock that travels to space. We also said that they were as big as houses. That's right. It's an asteroid. An asteroid. A-S-T-E-R-O-I-D. An asteroid. All right, boys and girls, kiss your brain. Well, you did such an amazing job learning those vocabulary words, matching them with the proper definition, and now you've used them in a sentence, boys and girls. Good job. All right, so now it's your turn to write a sentence to answer these questions that have our vocabulary words. Okay, so these are vocabulary questions, but you're gonna make a connection with you. Okay, so I'll read number 1 to you. It says, if you were an astronaut, which planet would you like to visit? Which one would you like to visit, boys and girls? Remember, there are 8, and one of those 8 planets is the Earth, which is the one that we live in. So if you could visit another planet, which one would you visit? Then we learned about some others. So I want you to write a sentence about which planet you would like to visit. And also remember, boys and girls, when we start our sentence, we have to use an uppercase letter. So this is a question that we're answering. So that means we're going to be writing a statement, and statements end with a period. A period at the end, okay? And also, boys and girls, don't forget to leave finger spaces in between each one of your words. Okay, because if you put all those words together, it's going to look like one big long word. It's not going to look like a sentence. So make sure your finger spaces are very important. Okay, so let's look at number 2. Can you think of 3 great words to describe an asteroid? So think of 3 words to describe an asteroid. So you're not writing a sentence for number 3. You're just thinking about 3 words that describe an asteroid. Okay, so words that describe, boys and girls, are called adjectives. So what 3 words, describing words, can you think of that describe an asteroid? Okay, and I put a picture there for each one of the questions to kind of help you, okay, give you an idea of what to write for your sentences. All right, number 3, your last question. Would you like to go to the moon and play in some craters? Remember that Grace was sitting in a crater and she looked pretty happy, boys and girls. That must have been fun. So if you see the picture on the bottom there, that is a picture of an actual crater in the moon, and there's an astronaut Okay, so you can pretend that that is you. And would you like to play in those craters? Why or why not? All right, boys and girls, you can always go back and finish your sentences. Okay, so this is time for you. You can pause or you can move right along to our next activity. Okay, so now we have our sight word game. Okay, and this is our sight word Scrabble. We have 4 letters to put together to make a sight word. We will use the 2 bottom rows of red words to help us figure out the mixed up letters that make up the sight words on the top 2 rows. Okay, so the black words, the black group of letters at the top are sight words, but they're all mixed together. We don't, right now, if we see them, they're not sight words because they're not in the right order. They're just letters that are mixed up. So we want to put them in the correct order, okay? So I am going to need your help. So if you also want to get your pencil and your piece of paper, and we're going to help unscramble these words, okay, and put them in the right order. Okay, so the first one that I have, okay, so I'm going to start with the first row here in the black group of letters. O-S, whoops, I need to go back. I need to go back right here. Okay, so in the first group of letters, boys and girls, I have O-S-O-N. So I am going to look at the bottom to see if there's any sight words that have those letters. Okay, so O-S-O-N. So if I see the first one in the first red sight word, does it have an O? It does not. So I'm going to go to the next one under it. Does it have an O? Nope, I have to go to the next one. That one doesn't have an O either, boys and girls. We'll go to the next one. No O's there. We go to the next one. No O's there. No O's there. So we have to go to the next one. I see an O there. I also see an S. I also see another O, and I also see an N. So I am going to circle it because I think that might be the sight word that's all mixed up at the top. So I am going to use all those letters and I am going to write it correctly to see if it actually is. So the first letter is an S. I'm going to cross it out. Then I have 2 O's. 1, 2, and then I have an N. What sight word is that, boys and girls? Soon. Soon. Very good. All right. So our next one is D-E-R-I. D-E-R-I. So let's look at the red sight words at the bottom. I don't see a D in the first one. Not here. Not here. We see a D here. I also see an E. I also see an R and I see an I. I think we found it. All right, so I am going to circle it. So the first letter in that sight word is an R. So I am going to write my R, cross it out. Okay, then I have an I, cross it out. Then I have a D, cross it out. And last I have an E, and I am crossing that out. Okay, so what sight word is that? Correct, ride, ride. All right, so I'm looking at my next group of letters here. A, B, C, K. Okay, so I'm going to look at the first sight word here. That's red. I see an A in that word. I also see a B. I also see a C, and I also see a K. We got it, boys and girls, on the first try. I am going to circle that so I won't lose it. And remember, all the sight words that are circled means I already used them. I am not going to use them again. We only use them one time. Okay, so the first letter I have is a B. Cross it out. Then I have an A. Cross it out. Then I have a C. Cross it out. And last I have a K. Cross it out. What sight word is that, boys and girls? Back. Back. Good job. Okay. Next we have L-E-W-L. L-E-W-L. Okay, so I'm going to start over here. This one does not have an L. This one has an L, does not have an E. This one does not have an L, no L. Well, this one has an L. It has an E. It also has a W and the other L. So I believe it's this one. Circle it so I won't lose it. First letter is a W. Okay, cross it out. Then I have an E. Cross it out. Then I have an L. Well, actually two L's that I can cross both of my L's out. So what sight word is that? Very good. Well. Well. So it's our sight word, well. All right, boys and girls. So let's go to the next group of letters that are all mixed up. K-A-W-L. K-A-W-L. Okay, so I am checking this one. No K here. I see a K here. I see an A. I see a W. And I also see an L. So I believe it might be this one. Okay, so the first letter is a W. Cross it out. Next we have an A. Cross it out. Then we have an L. And finally we have a K. What sight word is that, boys and girls? Excellent. Walk. Walk. All right. We're going to go to the second row of the mixed up letters. Okay, so let's go and look at this one. U-T-M-S. Okay, I see a U here. I see a T. I also see an M and I see an S. On the first try again, boys and girls, we got it. All right, I am going to circle it. And let's go ahead and spell that sight word correctly and see if we're going to use all of those letters because I believe we found it. Okay, so first we write it M. There we go. Cross it out. Then we have a U. Cross it out. Then we have an S. Cross it out. And the last letter is a T. What sight word is that, boys and girls? Must. Must. Very good. All right, next one. I-L-W-L. I-L-W-L. All right, so this one does not have an I. This one does not have an I. This one does not have an I. This one has an I. L-W-L. I believe it's this one. There we go. First letter W. Cross it out. Next letter I. Cross it out. And then we have our two L's. Cross those out. So what sight word is that, boys and girls? Very good. It's the sight word will. Will. Excellent. All right. Next group of letters, boys and girls. E-R-W-E. E-R-W-E. Okay, so let's check this one out. We have an E. We have an R, we have a W, and we have an E. We got it, boys and girls, on our first try. All right, so W is the first letter to put it in the correct order. Then we have an E, cross it out. Next we have an R, cross it out. And then we have an E, cross that out. All right. All right, next group of letters, H-A-T-T. Well, there's an H here, there's also an A, and there are two T's. So there we go. First try again. All right, so let's go ahead and spell that sight word correctly and see if we use all those letters. First is a T, cross it out. H, cross it out. A, cross it out. And last, we have a T, cross it out. So that word is that. That. All right, boys and girls, we are on to our last sight word. So it must be this one. I see an O, a U, a F, and an R. Yes, it is. So first we have an F, cross that out. Then we have a O, cross that out. We have a U, cross that out. And then we have an R, cross it out. All right, so let's go ahead and read those sight words, we're going to read the red ones, okay? We're going to read the first top row, and then we're going to go to the bottom row of red words, okay? So help me read them. Okay, here we go. First word, back, walk, were, soon, for, must, ride, that, well, will. Very good, boys and girls. Kiss your brain again. Oh, your brain is working so hard, doing such a great job. All right, let's see what activity we have next. Well, we have math time with Mrs. Maldonado. Let's see what we're going to have for math today. Well, it's asking us to draw and write the sum. Boys and girls, do you remember that word sum? I know we've talked about it in prior lessons that we've already worked on in math. So sum means the total or the answer of something, okay? So the sum would be, what is the answer of 10 plus 30? So that is the sum. So it's the answer, the total. All right, so first it's asking us to draw. Okay, so remember, we are drawing and it's looks like it's all tens, so it's going to be straight tallies, okay? We're counting by tens. So there's only one 10 here, so I'm going to draw just one straight line. And then this one has 30. 10, 20, 30. Okay, so let's count and see what is the sum. 10, 20, 30, 40. So what is the sum? 40. Now let's double check that, boys and girls. Let's double check that. All right, so if we know that we are counting by tens and we have 30, what comes after 30? And we have just one more 10. It's 10, 20, 30, and one more would be 40. Very good. All right, let's go to our next one. Draw and write the sum. Okay, so we have to draw them first, okay? 10, 20, 30, 40. Remember, 50 is diagonal, okay? 50, 60, 70, 80. Okay, and then we just have 10 here. All right, so I know that I have 80 here, but I'm just still going to count them just to double check, okay? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. So we have 90. All right, boys and girls, so let's double check our work counting on. Okay, we're going to put 80 in our head, and then we're going to count by tens. Okay, and we only have one more 10. So what comes after 80? Remember, we're counting by tens. Whoops. Let's go back. My pen was having me. Okay, so let's go back. We are right here. And we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then 10. Okay, and we have 80, and then one more. What comes after 80? 90. That's right. 90. So we could also, boys and girls, here are counting by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90. Also, boys and girls, did you know that you could also use a number line to count by tens? You can. Watch, we're going to start with 80, and then we're just going to move 1. Okay, we're going to move 1 because this is 10. So the next one would be 90. Okay, let's move to the next one. Draw and write the sum. So we have 10, and then we have 40 here. 10, 20, 30, and 40. Okay, so what comes after 40? And then we're going to add one more. 10, 20, 30, 40, and then if we add one more 10, that is 50. Okay, so if I had a number line counting by tens, I'm going to start with my greater number, which is 40, and we're just going to go one more because remember we're counting by tens, and that would be 50. My answer would be 50. Okay, so the same thing here, counting by tens, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, because after 40 we have one more. All right, draw the sum, draw and write the sum. Okay, so we have 50, 10, 20, 30, 40. Remember for 5 or for 50, we always use a diagonal tally because that way we know that we're counting by fives. Okay, and then one more. So remember 50 in your head, and then we're counting one more. What comes after 50? 60. Okay, so we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. Okay, so basically, boys and girls, it's just adding a 0 to the number. See, we see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we just added the zeros. Okay, so 50 plus 10 equals 60. And the same thing, we could do a number line, and we're just moving just one more, okay, because we're counting by tens, so our answer would be 60. Okay, we're counting by tens instead of counting by ones. You could also count by fives, but in this case, they're by tens, okay? So draw and write the sum. Okay, we have 10, and then in the others, we have 60, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 50 is diagonal, and then we have 60. Okay, so remember 60 is the larger number. What comes after 60? We're counting by tens. 60 and 70. Okay, so 70. Okay, so again, we have our number line, 60. And then we are going to move 1 because we just have 110 because we're counting by tens. So our answer would be 70. So again, boys and girls, we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60, which is this one. And then we're going to add this one, 10 more. That would be 70. So the 70 is the 10 that we are adding. All right, let's go to our next one. Now, boys and girls, it is your turn to log in to MobyMax. Okay, so remember you're going to go on to www.mobymax.com and you're going to click on the orange sign-in tab, which is that one. And then for step number 2, excuse me, you will come to this bottom screen. Okay, you're going to make sure that you're in as a student. So check that you are in as a student. Okay, on the top right tab. And then you're going to enter Guadalupe Center. Make sure you have a finger space between Guadalupe and Center. If you need help spelling Guadalupe or Center, you can ask your parents to write it for you in a piece of paper, or maybe they can type it in for you. But remember, it's very important that you leave a finger space. Okay? And once that comes up, you are going to click on this find green little box, and then you will see that Guadalupe is going to come up. Click on that. Okay? So make sure that you are in as a student again. Okay? And you are going to put your username right here and your password. They will both be the same. That is your student number or your lunch number, okay, for both the top and the bottom. Also make sure that you have Guadalupe Center there at the top, because if you have another school, then it's not going to work for you. All right, step number 4, you will see student name at the top corner, which is right here where I just drew a circle. There isn't a name right there because I'm just using it just to show you where you will find the name. Okay, then you're gonna select the green math icon, and then you are going to start your lesson. Remember that everyone's lesson will be different, okay, boys and girls? So it might not be the same lesson that we just did in math. Maybe it will be, so you will know what to do, or maybe it'll be a review if you've already done it, okay? So boys and girls, I hope you have fun today with me, and I will see you next time.